Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another book review from me, your humble host, Logan Albright. And today I'm talking about the true life story of the seafaring adventure of the Wager by David Grann, a tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder. David Grann has written a lot of these sort of historical adventures based on real events. It's not, it is a real event. It's not a fiction book. It's a nonfiction book. But this is a New York Times bestseller. It's been all over the place. I see it everywhere. It seems like everybody's reading it. And I read it and I wanted to talk about it. First of all, I will say that I am a great fan of seafaring adventures. I love the ocean. I love sailing. I love the idea of the nautical life. One of my favorite writers is Herman Melville, and he writes all these great novels of the ocean. It's a topic that I find endlessly interesting, and I find it very romantic, and I love that sort of thing. So I was excited to read this book. David Grann, as a writer, I am not the hugest fan of his style, and this is going to be a plus or a minus depending on your personal preference as a reader. But I'll just tell you my personal preference as a reader. I kind of like history books that are written like history books, and this history book is written like a novel. He tries to make it exciting, and so it's well-researched. There's a long list of sources in the back. I'm not accusing him of being sloppy or anything like that, but the style is sort of, fast-paced and popular. It's sort of a popular fiction style of writing, which to me feels a little bit dumbed down compared to like the primary sources and stuff. So I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I could see, depending on the type of reader you are, you may much prefer to that, to something that's a little drier and more of a historical book. But he draws his account from various sources. There's a lot that's been written on this incident. All of the people involved essentially wrote their own books and their own accounts, and he draws from all of that. And that's sort of interesting because everybody involved has their own point of view on what actually happened. And you get some of those competing narratives in here that are, sometimes in conflict with each other, and you don't really know what the truth is, and you have to kind of sort it out yourself. And I think that's really great. The story is about a ship, an English ship, that is at war with Spain, and it goes around as part of a group of ships, and it's supposed to round Cape Horn and go up off the west coast of South America. And Cape Horn being notoriously treacherous, it gets separated from its other ships, and they end up being shipwrecked on an island just on this southern tip of South America and off the coast of Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego, which is an interesting part of the world. There's some very violent weather, lots of wind, lots of rain, very violent seas. It's such a notoriously difficult thing to get around. It seems like everybody who tries to round Cape Horn ends up getting shipwrecked, and they get marooned on this island, and they have to figure out how to get home and how not to kill each other and how not to starve to death. So the first part of the book, the first third of the book, is about the voyage and the shipwreck. The second third of the book is about their life on the island and what they did to try to escape. And then the last third of the book is about what happens on their voyage back and the people who survived and what they were able to, what the kind of consequences they faced when they got back from their voyage. It's all very interesting. Lots of a real diverse cast of characters. You get to kind of know different personalities on the ship and what their different priorities are, and kind of what their values are and things like that. It's all very cool. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good book. Like I said, the writing style was not my favorite, and I could have used with a little bit more detail, maybe, less of like a thriller style of writing. But the incident itself is fascinating. Anytime these types of heroic adventures are always interesting, and I like that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I think is great about this kind of book is that it reminds you of what life used to be like in centuries past. This is the 18th century, and it was pretty bad, Like, you could be pressed into Royal Navy service against your will, essentially enslaved and made part of the Royal Navy. The life on board the ship was extremely harsh and extremely difficult. Life as a shipwrecked, marooned sailor on an island was almost deadly. It was deadly for a lot of people, trying to find food, and just the things people were willing to endure and things people had to endure in those days. I think it's a good reminder to us living in the modern era how good we have it and how easy life is for most of us compared to what it was 250, 300 years ago, when people were like undertaking these life or death voyages all the time just to try to make enough money to live on. It's pretty fascinating. And so while I find the ocean life extremely romantic and interesting to read about, I think it's not something that anyone or almost anyone in the 21st century would really want to undertake as a career, because it's pretty brutal. Disease was rampant. They didn't understand how disease really worked back then. They thought it was based on odor. They didn't have the germ theory of medicine, and they didn't have the theory of nutrition and vitamins and stuff. So there was scurvy, there was typhus being spread by lice. It just sounds altogether horrible, but it's fascinating to read from a distance. And it's a little, it reminds me a little of like the Survivor TV show. But you know, the Survivor TV show has it much easier than these people had it. But it's interesting to see what happens when groups of people get stranded together and have to try to fight their way out. So if you're into seafaring adventures and you're into historical fiction, although this is not fiction, this is nonfiction, but if you're into historical events and you like the ocean and you like shipwrecks and you like pirates and you like boats and all that kind of stuff, this is an interesting book and I would recommend it. The Wager. Everybody's reading it right now. Be one of the crowd and read what everyone else is reading. Don't be an individual and read your own thing. That's for suckers. So that's all really I have to say about The Wager. I don't have a ton to say about it. It's actually pretty short and you can get through it pretty quickly. There's sirens outside. I don't know if you can hear them. But it was a fun read. I'm reading it as part of sort of a book club with a few other people, and we're going to talk about it afterwards. We haven't really talked about it yet, so I'll be interested to see what other people have to say. But if you are looking for a good rip-roaring adventure tale to read to get you through the cold winter months, I can recommend this. And you can be glad that you are in your warm home instead of being stranded on a freezing cold island in the middle of winter in the southern tip of South America. That's my review. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, please like the video and subscribe to the channel and leave me comments down below because I always enjoy reading them. And until then, I will catch you next time with another book review next Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I come back with a book review. So make sure you stay tuned and click that bell for notifications so you get notified when the next one will come out. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Logan Albright, and I will catch you next time.